Hey, and welcome to another episode of my Ask Me Anything videocast series where I, Chris Clemens, try to answer your most burning political questions. Today's episode is going to break from the traditional mold in that I'm not actually taking a question from a follower, but I'm actually going to be covering a particular issue that I find incredibly important for everyone, and not just my voting district to know, but in the entire country. The FISA Reauthorization that just recently passed. It isn't just a reauthorization of the FISA courts that we have already had in place. This new reauthorization has essentially widely expanded the power of the security apparatus here in the United States. Our NSA, the FBI, the CIA, all of our enforcement agencies have just gotten a giant boost of steroids injected right into their enforcement arms. And it's something that we, the American people, need to take very seriously and we need to be aware of. So, to put it very plainly, the FISA amendments are unconstitutional. They violate our Fourth Amendment right, our right against illegal searches and seizure. The Fourth Amendment reads, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized." Basically, the forefathers, our founders, were very, very specific in the powers that they gave our government, our federal government. And what this amendment to our Constitution says, our Fourth Amendment of the Bill of Rights, says that the government must be very specific in both what they're looking for, why they're looking for it, and where they're going to look for it. And in order for them to do that, they need to essentially establish probable cause, which is evidence that says that you are likely somebody who has committed a crime, and we need to gather more information so that we can make sure that we can convict you of beyond unreasonable doubt, or reasonable doubt. My apologies. So, what the FISA amendments did, and what they did essentially originally, this FISA court was created 33 years ago. And it was created essentially to make it legal for our security apparatus to look for spies, like actual real espionage. And essentially it lowered the threshold of the amount of information needed to get one of these warrants. And the way they did this workaround is they created a special court of people who are appointed, not voted in by you or me, people who are appointed, and then they go to the secret court that's not held accountable by the public to get their rubber stamp. The reason I say rubber stamp is because the FISA court, that's been around for 33 years, has given 33,000 warrants for these extra constitutional searches. And out of those 33,000 warrants, they've rejected 12. 0.03% of all of the warrants that have been applied for have been rejected. Meaning this literally is a rubber stamp to violate the rights of our citizens. Now, in its original scope, again, they were looking for espionage. Something that, for the most part, the American people were willing to sign away some level of their Fourth Amendment rights to ensure some protection against. And that's understandable. However, as the slippery slope argument generally goes, once you establish a precedent, the government will continue to press against public opinion just to the point where we protest. They will pull back just a little bit, and in doing so, they will gain more power. And over time, that's what they have done. The Clinton administration, the Bush administration, the Obama administration, all of them have expanded the use of the FISA courts to essentially warrantlessly search American information. And the problem is, in 1978, the internet did not exist. We were, for the most part, a traditional society with snail mail and the like. We had telecommunications, but nothing like we do today. The difference between then and now is that everything we do, every conversation we have exists on the internet. And it is essentially able to be intercepted by our security apparatus at any point through those transfers. So I send you an email, the government intercepts it as it's on its way, and they take that information, and we're none the wiser that they're doing this. If it wasn't for Edward Snowden and all of these other whistleblowers who have been coming out, we wouldn't know the extent of their illegal searches. They're doing much more than what the law actually allows them to do, and that they are essentially gathering every single thing that you do on the internet, and they're storing it away. And the way they're pretending it's constitutional is that they're not actually searching it until they want to go look for something. So they're recording everything, and then when they suspect you of a crime, and they can use this FISA amendment against you, well, now they can go look for it. That's kind of the idea. Now, you're saying, wait, now, that's not necessarily true up to this point. Well, now with this new Authorization Act, it actually is. In this new Authorization Act, and I'm going to kind of read some of this stuff verbatim from some of my notes here, so I apologize looking down. But in this, you don't necessarily have to be suspected of a crime in order for your information to be searched. You can simply be talking to somebody in another country, and this information gets wrapped up. And if somebody who's connected to a person that you might know has committed a crime, and we want to look through their stuff, well, several steps back through the information chain, their search can go. So then your information gets wrapped up in it. But beyond that, again, remember, they're recording everything that's going on the internet, essentially, and they're storing it in these data centers in Utah and other places around the country. In this instance, the FBI and the other spy agencies do not need to obtain a warrant. They don't even need to go through the FISA process at this point if the crime being accused involves death, kidnapping, offense against a minor, damaging critical infrastructure, both physical and digital, whatever that means, that is considered damaging to security, public health, or the economy. Now, just that first sentence alone, the FBI is able to look through everything you've ever done on the internet if you could possibly fall underneath one of these categories. These are very, very, very broad categories, folks. Damaging critical infrastructure, digital? What could that possibly mean? What could you do? Could you participate in taking a website down during a DOS attack, something of that nature? Well, now your entire internet history is searchable. And any crime, by the way, with this new FISA amendment that's in here, any crime that you may have committed in the past can be used. It doesn't have to be applicable to the current crime that you're being accused of, right? So it used to be if you find information that doesn't involve the investigation, well, that has nothing to do with anything. Well, now we're going to try you for that. So think about all those thousands and thousands of state laws and federal laws that are on the books that you might be violating right now and have no idea. Maybe you decided to watch the KU game on grandma streams on Reddit. That's a violation of federal law, folks. Maybe they come across that, and instead of just charging you for the 2 ounces of weed in your pocket, maybe they decide to use that as an excuse to look through your information, because all Jeff Sessions has to do with this new FISA amendment, he just has to say it matches one of the criteria above, right? So maybe he says that, and they start looking through, and oh, well, this person's been pirating all this content. That's years in prison and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines that we can levy against this person. Folks, this new FISA amendment is beyond measure increasing the power of the federal government. So back to what I was just saying. Attorney General Jeff Sessions just has to essentially say, he doesn't have to prove anything. He just has to say that this person meets one of these criteria, so we get to look through everything this person's ever done. Now, this, I kind of lost track here. This can be computer-related crimes. So, computer-related crimes is a very, very, very wide category. Again, that's literally anything you can do on your computer that's illegal. Well, if you do something like that, the federal government can search everything you've ever done on the internet. Isn't that wonderful? That's what this FISA amendment allows. I can't really honestly explain to you how absolutely furious I am that this even passed, that this was even considered, not that it was even considered constitutional, but the fact that any individual sitting in the Senate or House of Representatives considered voting for this is beyond me. And the fact of the matter is, folks, this is beyond just disgusting behavior. This is treasonous. This is an attack on the United States of America and everyone that lives within it. This is a usurpation of power that should frighten you. It should absolutely terrify you that the government, your congressmen, your senators, your acting president, Donald Trump, thought that not only was this legal, but necessary, that it somehow doesn't violate the very pillars of our founding, the ideals that make us America, our Bill of Rights. They somehow, in some weird twisted logic, thought that this new reauthorization held up to those standards. It is beyond me. And the fact of the matter is, if I have to get worked up and I have to yell into a camera for somebody to wake up and realize just how terrifying this is, I don't know where we are. This is frightening. And folks, it is your duty as American citizens to hold these people accountable for their treasonous acts. And that is, again, that is what this is. This is textbook treason. And you have the sole responsibility of holding these individuals accountable. Not only should we be voting them out in November, we should be looking to put these people in prison for this. I don't want to sound as though I'm trying to blow this out of proportion. But we are at the precipice. We are at the cusp of a totalitarian fascistic regime taking over our freaking country. And this is the power that they're going to use against you to do it. It is a now or never opportunity. When November comes around, get your butt to a poll and hold these people accountable. Because if you don't, the slippery slope only gets slipperier. There's not much more we can do to the Fourth Amendment to make it completely obsolete. We are losing our constitutional rights at a rate that we have never seen. And it's all been happening within the last 30 years. The government has become bold, and they think that they can do whatever they want. And that's precisely what they're doing, and they're writing it down as though they're making it legal. And we know it's not. None of this aligns with the Constitution. None of this aligns with the Fourth Amendment. And yet we continue to let it happen. We are losing our country. We are losing the ideals that our country was founded upon. That should anger you. That should infuriate you. It's time that we took care of business.